My friend, how would you react if one fine evening your wife told you, "Honey, I have to spend the weekend with my boss"? For me personally, this would mean one thing. It's time to think about divorce. In this story, the hero is confronted with exactly this behavior of his wife. How will he deal with this, and what will he do in response? Let's listen and find out everything. Let's go. Sitting in a tree on a hill overlooking the pool of a luxurious estate, Ted held a pistol wrapped in cloth and put on long rubber gloves. Using a small device similar to a monocle, he carefully watched the pool, despite the fact that he was only 70 yards from the sun loungers by the pool. The estate belonged to Byron Diamond, a wealthy businessman. Although the tree Ted was sitting on was technically not on the estate, it was close enough for him to conduct surveillance unnoticed. Byron Diamond was the boss of Ted's wife, Kara. Kara, a beautiful woman with dark blonde hair and a slender figure, spent weekends at Diamond's estate, openly maintaining a relationship with him with Ted's knowledge. This only happened when Diamond's wife, Miranda, was away on charity business. Ted wasn't sure if Miranda knew about Kara's visits, given the presence of staff at the estate. When Diamond and Kara came out of the pool, Diamond in swimming trunks and Kara in a revealing thong, Ted continued to watch them closely. It wasn't the first time Ted had seen Diamond and Kara in such clothes. He spent several weeks exploring the estate. Diamond was incredibly attractive, with a toned figure, and he and Kara looked amazing together, especially in their current outfits. Ted understood to some extent why Kara was attracted to Diamond, but from the very beginning when she first spoke about her feelings, he could not accept this situation. Ted and Kara, who were 37 years old, had been married for 16 years, and they had twin daughters, Claire and Beth, who were 15 years old. At the moment, the girls were staying with Ted's parents for a week before heading to soccer camp to demonstrate their athletic abilities. It is assumed that Ted went on a bike ride with his childhood friend Miles Jacobs, whom he had known since first grade. They were now business partners, running the financial advisory firm M&T that Ted had started after college. Despite not attending college himself due to financial difficulties, Miles excelled in sales and helped the company grow by promoting its services. Both Ted and Miles were financially stable family men with children of similar ages who attended the same school. Miles was married to his childhood sweetheart Robin, who had also been in love with Ted in the past. Despite the resemblance, Miles won Robin's heart, and Ted eventually found happiness with Kara during college. Ted witnessed a shocking event that was about to happen. Kara and Diamond hugged and quickly moved on to kiss, but when they pulled away from each other, Diamond suddenly lost consciousness. Kara screamed in shock and fell to the ground. In a panic, she crawled to the nearest pool and jumped into it. Ted, who was watching from the sidelines, quickly threw away all the evidence. He then hurried back to his bike and drove off, joining Miles on the main bike path. Before continuing the trip, they made sure they were alone. He and his friend finished the trip and ended up at Miles's house. Ted wasn't worried about the weapon, as he thought the police wouldn't be able to track it down and find DNA on it. The gun had belonged to him for a long time. He inherited it from a friend who did not want his family to get it. Along with 2 Colts, the pistol was kept in a closet in Ted's garage for many years. Unlike the second pistol, which was kept in the safe along with his grandfather's tools, Ted did not keep the first one there. When Kara mentioned her plans, Ted immediately thought about it and took the gun from his suburb, making sure it was still in working order. He deleted the serial number to avoid contacting him. For Ted, this gun was a reminder of how important it is to keep old things and not get rid of them thoughtlessly. Upon arriving at Miles's house, Robin greeted them. They did not inform her of their plans in advance, but returned at the expected time. She treated them to a cold beer and asked how the trip went, to which Miles responded positively, noting that it was a good workout on a quiet trail. About 4 hours later, Robin hugged them both. She was an attractive woman about their age with dark hair and a slight build. Ted had always found her attractive, and although they flirted occasionally, they both knew she was Miles's partner. They enjoyed a beer, took a shower in the pool house, and rested at his place. Robin asked Ted how long he thought the situation with Kara would last, because Ted had confided in them about how Kara was spending the weekend. They were his closest confidants, to whom he turned for advice in difficult times. After consulting with them, Ted came up with a plan to let the novel fade away naturally, if at all. Robin thought Ted should have kicked Kara out immediately, but Miles had a different point of view. Miles advised postponing the divorce until they could protect their business and until the twins were older, but Ted had already made up his mind. He did not tolerate men who meddled in the affairs of other people's wives, especially his own. Having formulated the plan, he discussed it with Miles, and together they finalized it. Now Robin was asking about Kara's connection to Diamond. Ted replied, "I have no idea, but my relationship with Nora will hopefully last longer." Robin continued her inquiries. 2 years ago, Kara started working for Diamond, and Robin stayed at her accounting firm. Sitting together, Ted reflected on recent events, pondering his reaction and the reasons why Kara had betrayed him. Despite the fact that she had been working for Diamond for almost 2 years, he hadn't noticed any problems. Their bed life remained unchanged. Kara did not stay late at work and did not go on business trips. She usually went to the club on weekends, but often made it to the girls' soccer matches when they were at home. Ted, on the other hand, never missed any of their games. Ted was stunned when Kara came up to him late one night and said, "Ted, I want to tell you something. I hope this doesn't ruin the relationship too much. I love you." Ted's reaction was instantaneous. He was not one to show his emotions easily. Most people thought he was harsh. Unlike his parents, who often quarreled and passionately reconciled, Ted, over the years of his life, learned to remain neutral as he grew up an only child. Therefore, when Kara told about her plans, Ted remained silent. His expression did not change. That didn't bother Kara. She had seen Ted's reaction like this before. "Byron and I have developed feelings for each other. His wife is away for the weekend from Friday to Sunday. I plan to visit him at the estate when she's gone, starting this Friday. I do not know how long this will last. He might get tired of me, but I feel like I have to do it, Ted," she said. Ted remained calm inwardly, too. He knew right away that he couldn't stop Kara, and he wasn't going to try. He also realized that Diamond's fate was sealed, as was their marriage. But what to do with Kara, he has not yet decided. He always loved her, and she was a decent mother. But he knew about her tendency to narcissism and concern for status, which has now reached its peak. Putting aside thoughts of Kara, Ted switched to the gun in the closet in the garage. After a short pause, he smiled, thinking about the gun. His unexpected smile surprised Kara and somewhat worried her. She asked him fervently, "What's funny?" Ted assured her with a smile, "Nothing at all." But the smile didn't leave her face, leaving Kara perplexed. The sight of his smile sent a shiver down her spine. Ted got up from his seat and asked, "Have you had an intimate relationship with this guy yet?" Kara hesitated before answering, "No, just a few kisses. That's all for now." Ted stated, "I will sleep in the guest house. Let me know when you're done with the rich boy." "We'll decide what to do next," he said, and headed for the stairs to pack his things for the night. Kara, still sitting in the living room, felt dissatisfied with how things were going. Despite her desire, she was determined to get her way. Even though she missed Byron and hated sleeping alone, she had to go through another night before the weekend with him. Although she loved Ted and their life together, she couldn't shake the anxiety that drew her to her boss. She believed that she and Ted could handle everything. On Wednesday evening, Ted, struggling to sleep, planned to check the guns, since the twins were away for the weekend. He might even be able to have some fun. On Thursday afternoon, he went to a cafe where he often saw Nora Hansen, a young woman strikingly similar to Robin, both in appearance and behavior. Despite their previous flirtation, Ted had never thought about courting Nora. When he found that she was already sitting in the cafe, he took a bold step. He sat next to her in the booth, and not opposite, which attracted her attention. Nora, who was not used to courtship, was glad of the change and had been quietly leaving a place for him for 2 weeks, hoping that he would make a move. She found him attractive, especially since she was currently single. Giving him a flirtatious smile, she remarked, "You're different today, aren't you?" "Yes, my wife has decided to have an affair with her boss," Ted replied with a smirk, casually placing his hand on her hip. Intrigued, she asked, "So what?" "I thought we could go out to dinner and dance on Friday night," he suggested. "Ted, I would really like that," she replied, still smiling charmingly, but with a hint of mischief in her gentle voice. Trying to contain his excitement, Ted felt a little ridiculous. She patted his cheek affectionately, after which they exchanged numbers and went their separate ways. Back at work, Ted couldn't wipe the grin off his face, attracting the attention of his colleagues. Even his wife, Kara, noticed his improved mood when he returned home. She made a lasagna and salad dinner, hoping to see his reaction to her news. "Thanks, I'm hungry," Ted replied, looking noticeably happier. Kara couldn't shake her suspicions, wondering if he had already moved on. When they sat down to eat, she carefully brought up the subject. "You seem to be... I'm going to see him tomorrow," she began. Ted gave her a meaningful look, trying to find a common language with her. "It's not too late to change your mind, Kara. I sincerely believe that in the end, you will regret this decision," he advised, worried about the future of their family. She noticed the change in Ted's demeanor, the sincere pleading in his eyes, which for a moment awakened a feeling of love in her, which she quickly pushed into the background. "I need this, Ted," she said. He smiled softly and replied, "I don't think we have the same understanding of what we need, Kara." As she cleared the plates, she offered hopefully, "I hope you'll join me in bed tonight." Ted refused, reminding her to come to him when she was done with her affair. Kara felt disappointed. She had hoped to reconnect with Ted at the moment of intimacy, but now it seemed unlikely. She realized that she had closed that door when she confessed her intentions, and felt melancholy. When Ted was about to leave for the guest house, he stopped and turned to her with a final remark. "Maybe Kara, but probably not." With that, he left. Sitting alone at the table, Kara reflected on her choice. It was becoming increasingly clear to her that her marriage was in danger. She had once thought that after the end of her affair, everything would return to normal, but now it seemed to her that she was wishful thinking. If she had decided to continue her relationship with Byron, her life would definitely have undergone significant changes with unpredictable consequences. She had almost made up her mind to end the affair, but then she thought that Ted might never see her the same again. Realizing this, she decided to carry out her plan. On Friday evening, Kara packed a bag with basic necessities and new revealing nightwear to go to work. Seeing Byron in the office made her nervous, but his warm smile and kiss calmed her down. He asked if she had any doubts, to which Kara replied that she had doubts, but she wanted him too much. She playfully licked her lips, arousing Byron. They left work separately, keeping their plans a secret from their colleagues. By 6 o'clock in the evening, Kara arrived at the estate, where she was met by Byron, who opened the car door and escorted her to his luxurious home. Once inside, he hugged her passionately, fueling her excitement. They reached the stairs, where Byron tried to carry her up, but had to stop halfway due to lack of strength compared to Ted. Kara hurried into the bedroom where a bed was waiting for them. Finding herself completely naked in front of a new partner for the first time since her marriage, Kara felt aroused. She couldn't help but think that her feelings were almost as strong as they were with Ted. She was sure that together they would reach new heights. Byron was delighted. It seemed to him that he had conquered this married woman and given her pleasure. He was sure that he had become a better lover than anyone she had been with before. Later, Byron invited them to dinner and offered dressing gowns for both of them. There was a small treat waiting for them downstairs, and Kara realized how hungry she was. They ate and chatted casually. Byron asked her if she liked it. Kara nodded, saying yes, and asked him the same thing. He replied that he was, and Kara couldn't resist starting a song singing Just the Best. Byron didn't recognize the song and looked confused. She sang this song with Ted and felt guilty for using it with Byron. After dinner, they went back upstairs and watched a romantic comedy in bed. Byron wanted more intimacy, but Kara preferred to watch the movie to the end first. Eventually, they made love again. Kara was amazed by Byron's stamina. Ted came to pick up Nora in his classic MGB convertible. It was his favorite car. Nora was delighted with the trip and impressed by Ted's dapper appearance in his blue suit. Ted couldn't help but admire Nora's dark red dress, designed to make a statement. They had a wonderful dinner at the elegant Willington Hotel and then went to a nearby dance club with live music. Ted, an experienced dancer, was impressed by Nora's movements on the dance floor and found them sensual. As the evening went on, Nora reminded him more and more of Robin, even though she was younger and danced better. They were dancing together when they both had a sudden urge to leave. Ted quickly packed the car, and Nora boldly suggested, "Take me to your place, and let's have some fun." Ted drove carefully, observing the speed limit. After 15 minutes, he escorted Nora to his house, but they never left the living room. Nora teasingly undressed in front of Ted, who reciprocated her feelings. They stood and stared at each other until Nora playfully grabbed Ted, pushing him onto the couch. In the morning, while Ted was cooking breakfast, Nora watched him with a mixture of admiration and uncertainty. She knew she was in love with him, but she didn't dare admit it. Finally, when Ted served scrambled eggs and toast, Nora couldn't hold back any longer. "I love you, Ted. I should have told you," she confessed. Ted was surprised, but thought about her words for a moment. "I think I feel the same way," he finally admitted. "It's amazing how quickly it all happened." When they finished eating, Nora asked, "What are we going to do now?" Ted grinned and replied, "What else?" and then knocked her down again. Over the weekend, Kara and Ted's escapades continued in the same passionate manner in which they began. Kara was pleased with Byron, who repeatedly brought her to the peak of pleasure. Ted found himself deeply in love with Nora. On Sunday afternoon, Kara and Byron agreed to meet next weekend. Meanwhile, Ted and Nora began discussing how to further develop their budding relationship. They set a date for the following Friday, depending on Kara's schedule, and agreed to meet for lunch every day. Ted drove Nora to her luxurious apartment, impressed by her success as a lawyer at such a young age. When Kara returned home from Byron's, Ted greeted her with a smile that quickly faded when he noticed Kara's reaction. "How was your weekend? Lonely?" she asked. "How's Richie Rich?" Ted replied. Although Kara found Byron fascinating, she couldn't deny that Ted was better. Instead, she just said, "He was great. I'm going to be back next week." Since their children were out of town until Sunday evening, Ted and Kara decided to order Chinese cuisine for dinner. Throughout the week, Ted continued to meet with Nora every day for lunch, looking forward to the upcoming Friday concert date and the weekend spent at her house. Throughout the week, Ted and Kara's communication seemed robotic. At work, Kara and Byron kept their relationship in the shadows. Despite Kara's hopes for the proximity of home, Ted resolutely kept his distance. He spent the night at the guest house every night, avoiding contact with Kara and spending time watching baseball or reading. Their marriage seemed frozen, and Ted preferred to ignore her completely. In the evenings, he surreptitiously explored Diamond's estate, using Google Maps and night vision goggles to mentally map out the location. With the money, he purchased a sound amplification device to improve his eavesdropping capabilities. He and Nora had a good time at the weekend, but she had a regular Sunday lunch with her parents. Their last meeting took place the morning before she left. Ted then continued to inspect Diamond's estate, He often saw Diamond and Kara by the pool, where they apparently spent a lot of time. The guiding device was working properly, allowing him to pick up snatches of their conversations that he found uninteresting. In the third week, the twins returned home and immediately noticed that their parents seemed to have separated. At dinner on Tuesday, Claire bravely asked her parents what was going on. Kara assured them that they faced difficulties, but they would cope with them. Turning to Ted for clarification, he sadly told them that their mother had decided to start a relationship with her boss, as a result of which he moved into a guest house. Now the family's future was uncertain. Kara was stunned by Ted's frankness, but chose not to answer right away. Panting, she muttered, "I think I need to." But Beth interrupted her by suggesting, "Maybe a new partner?" Kara, feeling hurt, ran upstairs. Beth then asked their father, "Are you getting a divorce?" Ted replied, "I don't know, everything is uncertain now. Can you keep this between us?" They both agreed to keep it confidential, and Ted added, "I have a new friend." Later, Ted said, "I'll introduce her to you this weekend when your mom is with her new boyfriend." Claire concluded, "So you have someone special you want us to meet. It must be serious." Ted admitted, "Maybe. I would never have pursued Nora if your mom hadn't made her move first." Beth teasingly asked, "Who?" To which Ted playfully replied, "Who? You little smartass." Claire asked, "How did you manage to make a move so quickly, Dad? It's not like you." "I knew Nora a little from our lunch meetings. Maybe I was hesitant or unsure of myself, but I thought that Nora might be interested in going on a date with me. It turned out that it is," Ted said. After dinner, Ted said he would stay at the guest house. Kara offered to stay with him, but he refused, asking her about the betrayal. Kara expressed uncertainty, but said they would spend the weekend at home. Ted had warned her about the possible consequences of their actions being noticed, but Kara seemed resigned to the situation. Ted bluntly told her that their marriage was over, and Kara, stunned, ran upstairs in tears. The next morning, she decided to continue living as usual, knowing that both she and Ted still had a lot to do. Meanwhile, the girls were preparing for a trip to their grandparents' camp in nature. After lunch, Ted met with Nora to tell her about what happened after she left. Later, he went home to help the twins pack their things. Kara's day took an unexpected turn when Joan called her and asked about the girl she saw with Ted at the football match. Caught off guard, Kara asked which girl she had seen. Joan described her as a former football player, very attractive. Kara muttered a curse under her breath. Joan reassured her by saying that there was nothing obvious between this woman and Ted. Kara replied sarcastically, "Really?" "Kara, where have you been?" asked Joan. Kara sighed. "What did you hear, Joan?" she asked. "I've heard some outrageous things," Joan continued. "Like the rumor that you dumped Ted for your boss." Kara quickly refuted him. "That's not true. I didn't leave him," she clarified. "Jane Bright mentioned at the club that her cousin, who works at Mr. Diamond's house, saw another woman there on weekends." Kara realized the truth and swore under her breath. "So it's really you. Good God, Kara, good God," Joan said. "It's not forever, Joan, it's just a weekend," Kara tried to explain. "You're stupid. Ted's already with someone else, and to be honest, I can't blame him. She is young and attractive. Your daughters seem to already know her. You're in trouble," Joan warned. Kara ended the conversation feeling shaken to the core. On the evening of the same day when Kara and Ted took their daughters to his parents, the car ride passed in silence. But as soon as they entered the house, Kara turned to Ted and slapped him. Ted took a step back in surprise. "What the hell? You replaced me," Kara accused. "You're such a jerk," she said, her voice full of anger. "Did you really think that I wouldn't find out? How long have you been cheating on me?" She felt the betrayal burning inside her. "I only knew her at the coffee shop. We didn't even kiss until you started dating your boss, so go to hell," Ted replied. Kara left feeling a mixture of anger and sadness. Back at the guest house, Ted made a decision. He slipped out the back door in dark clothes and found a good place to watch Diamond from a tree. He planned to test the sound device tonight. He set everything up and waited patiently until he saw Diamond and his wife on the terrace enjoying wine. Overhearing their conversation, he heard Diamond remark, "And it won't last too long." Miranda replied, "You have your own toy girl because you got her, and this is the 4th or 5th in a row." Diamond replied, "I support your style, Miranda. Don't spoil it." They wondered aloud why the women they dated were always married. Miranda replied, "Yes, I make them tell their husbands about it. I like it better that way." At social gatherings, Diamond smiled at forgetful husbands. Miranda warned Diamond that one day she might annoy the wrong person, but Diamond waved her off, saying that they would have to accept the situation, especially since they all have children. Even if the wives decide to divorce, it won't matter to them. Miranda teased Diamond for his behavior, but he defended himself, saying he was good in bed. The conversation started when Ted got into the car and drove away. Ted used to think that getting involved with Diamond was both unnecessary and dangerous. He had his own strategy, and he was sure that it would bring success. But after meeting Nora, his gaze changed. Kara's indiscretion paved the way for this new connection. Ted began to think that maybe he should be grateful to Diamond, but the overheard conversation rekindled his rage. The next day he talked to Miles in his office. Nora stayed with Ted and his daughters over the weekend. They all slept in the guest house and communicated as one family. After Saturday's game, Ted and Nora, as usual, enjoyed spending time in bed. As they lay there, Nora asked Ted what he thought of the state of their relationship. Ted jokingly asked if she was dating someone on the side. Nora laughed and assured him that she was devoted to him. Ted expressed gratitude that Nora was in his life after the breakup with Kara. The next morning they spent time in bed and then cooked breakfast together. Nora left early to help her mother with the cake, and Ted told the girls that he was going on a bike ride with Miles. Before leaving, Ted prepared a gun and left it by a tree, hoping it would be there when he returned. Despite his doubts, he still climbed the tree. The memory of the jerk's conversation with his wife Miranda spurred his resolve. When he saw his almost naked wife kissing this guy, he knew it was time to end this nonsense. When Ted and Miles were enjoying a beer after a bike ride, Robin suddenly jumped out of the house. "I saw on TV that Diamond was shot. He didn't survive," she exclaimed. Ted immediately stood up, worried about Kara. Robin assured him that she was present at the incident, but was not injured. Miles gasped in shock and took out his phone to check the news. He kept Ted's phone with him during the trip and waited for the right moment to hand it to him, but Robin caught his actions. Ted tried to call Kara but got no answer. Worried, he decided to go home to check if anyone had called from there. As he rode his bike home, Ted's landline phone started ringing as soon as he pulled up. Detective Harvey from the police informed him that there had been an incident involving Diamond, but assured him that Kara was not injured. Ted dressed quickly and went to the station where his shocked but unharmed wife was waiting for him. He hurriedly packed up his essentials and walked out the door. With the car keys in his hands, he went to the police station, unaware of what was waiting for him. Upon arrival, he was asked to give evidence before he could see Kara. Detective Harvey, an elderly man with gray hair, and his partner Stella Blaine, an attractive, tall brunette, interrogated him in a small room. Despite the fact that Ted was read his rights, he answered all their questions, including the details of his day. He shared with them the details of his bike ride and many others. They asked about Kara's connection to Diamond, and he confirmed it. Harvey asked how Ted felt about it, and Ted admitted that he didn't like it, but he moved on, finding another one. When asked if he had an open marriage, he explained that he reacted to her actions and found someone new. They then discussed his gun ownership, to which he mentioned the presence of a safe, which they would need to check soon. Later, the police gathered information about his bike ride, addresses, and acquaintances. They left him alone in a locked room for a while, during which he scrolled through his phone. When Harvey returned, he asked to examine the phone, to which Ted agreed to provide the number, but expressed concerns about work-related information. Harvey mentioned the possibility of obtaining a warrant if necessary. Ted gave them the number and allowed them to inspect the phone, which would take about 30 minutes. Then they took him to Kara, who looked scared and upset. He reassured her and promised to take her home as soon as they were done with the phone. Kara expressed her concern about the situation, and Ted comforted her, after which he handed over the phone for verification. After a while, Kara spoke up again, apologizing to Ted for the situation and offering to talk on the way home. He hugged her, and they left the station with the detective who brought the phone. Once they were in the car, Kara asked Ted if he was guilty of the crime. He denied this, explaining that although he may not have felt sorry for the victim, he did not commit this act. Kara studied him closely, expressing confidence that he could have done it, but decided not to. Ted asked her if she had seen the perpetrator, and she replied that she had only heard a shot. Kara burst into tears, and Ted drove them home, where he escorted her into the house and met the police officers who arrived. They examined the weapons in the safe and questioned him about the ammunition, taking the box of cartridges but leaving the rest. As they were about to leave, one of the officers advised Ted to take the initiative in resolving the situation himself. Ted denied any involvement in the crime, claiming he was innocent. Before leaving, the officer assured him that they would stay in touch. Ted went into the house to talk to his wife. Before that, he called Nora and informed her about the situation, and Nora was already aware of some details. Ted asked Nora to come over later when Kara was settled. He also contacted his parents and the twins and discussed the events of the day at length. One of the topics of conversation was whether the twins should go to a nature camp next week. Everyone decided that it would be better for the twins if they went to avoid possible problems. They assured Ted that they would keep in touch with him and Kara on a daily basis. Meanwhile, Kara took a long shower. Ted was concerned about her mental state, as he noticed that she had used up all the hot water, which, in his opinion, could indicate a disorder. He waited for her when she came out in her bathrobe and asked if she was feeling better. She replied with a grin that she wasn't quite there yet, but the hot water was out. Ted suggested ordering a pizza, feeling a little guilty, but thinking it would help relieve the tension. Kara looked at Ted during a pizza dinner and expressed doubt about his innocence, asking where he had been earlier that day. Ted explained that he had ridden a bike with Miles and had already reported it to the police. Miles, as he knew, would vouch for him. Kara admitted that he had a short temper, but insisted that she did not consider him guilty of what had happened. Feeling blinded by recent events, she started talking about divorcing him. "I needed a rich man. I admit he was good-looking. But actually, Ted, he didn't quite match his appearance. I apologize. Well, actually, I take it back. You have another woman, Nora. They say she is younger and more attractive. She has an athletic type of character. She played college football, and she quickly became your new love interest. I'm sure you were with her before I started a relationship with Byron," Kara said. "No, it was probably around the same time," Ted replied. "You're planning to leave me, I can feel it," Kara said. "I understand that we have a prenuptial agreement and I need to provide for myself. I won't let you starve and maybe you can find a job," he replied. "Maybe. Miranda probably isn't too happy with me," she said. Ted's phone buzzed. It was Nora. He entered the living room and Kara followed him from afar. She overheard their declarations of love while Ted was trying to persuade Nora not to come. Kara came into the room and told Ted to let Nora in. It's time for them to finally meet. Half an hour later, the doorbell rang, and Ted greeted Nora as she entered. Kara had changed her clothes and was now standing in the kitchen, looking tired but still beautiful. The two women stared at each other for a while before Nora expressed her sympathy for Kara's difficult situation. Kara thanked her and admitted that she was shocked by all this. Nora assured her that it wasn't her fault that Kara's husband had left her for Nora. They were standing a few feet apart, and Ted was ready to step in if necessary. Kara began to tremble and cry, which prompted Nora to go over to her and give her a comforting hug. Nora led Kara to the couch and sat her down next to her, and Ted joined in the hug. Kara's sobs gradually subsided, and she asked Ted if the hot water was ready so she could take another shower. Kara used hot water once more. Ted gave her a pill to make her fall asleep, and she fell asleep on their bed. Ted and Nora decided to stay in the guest bedroom so as not to disturb Kara. They were watching the news, which told about Diamond's death and his many affairs with married women who worked for him. It seems Ted wasn't the only one with a motive to hurt Diamond. CNN suggested that some people had business reasons to want Diamond dead, and there were rumors online that Diamond's wife might be involved in the murder. After 11, Ted turned off all the media and he and Nora went to bed. At first, none of them wanted to stay around. Ted woke up early to check on Kara, who slept until 9 and then took a shower. By 10 o'clock, the three of them were sitting at breakfast and eating pancakes made by Nora. When Nora's phone rang, on which Mozart was playing, it was the police trying to arrange an interview. Nora asked Kara and Ted if they should come to their house, and Kara nodded in agreement. Detectives Harvey and Blaine arrived at 11 to question Nora in a private room. It took about 25 minutes, after which everyone gathered in the living room. Kara asked if there was any news about who was to blame, to which Blaine replied that there were many possible motives, including Ted. Ted defended himself by saying that they had already discussed this. The detectives thanked them for their cooperation and left. Robin called shortly after that. She told Ted that the police had come to her to gather information about his actions. They were polite and diligent. Ted said he would meet Miles at work. The trio didn't know what to do next. Nora asked if she should leave, to which Kara replied, "No, I understand. Ted might prefer that you stay." Ted agreed. They were all sitting in the backyard drinking coffee. Kara was gradually returning to her normal life, but there was a hint of sadness in her behavior. Ted and Nora were preparing for the upcoming obstacles. "The image of him bleeding continues to play in my mind," Kara said. Nora said that in grief psychology classes they mentioned that such images usually last the longest, but over time they mix with other memories. Kara nodded, expressing the hope that the image would disappear. Then Ted asked if there was any news from work. During the discussion, Nora raised the question of who could take over Byron's duties. Ted assumed it could be Miranda based on what he knew from Byron's will. He mentioned that Miranda would inherit everything except a few things for his mom. When Kara was asked if she wanted to continue working there, she replied that she needed to provide for herself. Ted looked at Nora, who asked if Kara planned to stay until she got back on her feet. Kara asked if Ted and Nora had stayed at the house the night before. Nora nodded in agreement. Kara shared her hopes that everything will go smoothly. Ted assured me that everything would work out and the girls would be back next week. Kara asked Nora what she thought of their game, and Nora admitted that it was very interesting. Kara said she felt stupid for succumbing to Diamond's manipulations, to which Nora simply replied, "Well then." Kara seemed to feel out of place not only at work, but also at home. Kara admitted that she has been feeling out of place for some time and cannot determine the reason. She said it might be a case of the grass looking greener on the other side. Suddenly, everything seemed to spin out of control, and she rushed inside, leaving Ted outside. Deciding to leave her alone, Kara went to the kitchen and started cooking. By noon, Kara had baked a chocolate cake. Later, she was joined by Nora and Ted, who chatted casually while watching what was happening. They ate sandwiches while they waited for the cake to cool down. The day went about the same way. Nora made hamburgers for dinner, and Kara made a salad. They worked on assignments but avoided discussing the future. Carta went to bed at 9, and she had nightmares twice that night, and Ted comforted her each time. The next morning, Nora had to go to work in court, and Ted thought about going to the office. but was afraid to leave Kara alone. At that moment, Kara's phone rang. It was Miranda who was asking if she would come to work. Despite the strain caused by Kara's relationship with Byron, Miranda still needed her help. Kara looked at Ted for approval and then replied, "I can be there in an hour." "Okay, drive up to the house and go in the back door to avoid embarrassment," Miranda ordered. Following the instructions, Kara met with Miranda in the office on the second floor. After shaking hands, Miranda asked, "I'm curious, before we start, why did Byron attract you?" Kara replied, "No, he's great, but Byron just seemed so impressive to me." "Yes, he may have seemed like that, but he's not as good as he looks," Miranda commented. Kara agreed, "I understand that he was adequate. At best, he was inclined to disappoint." "Maybe you haven't gotten to that point yet," Miranda suggested. "Maybe," Kara admitted. "Let's get started," Miranda concluded. At 6 in the evening, Miranda raised her head and asked, "Do you want to stay for dinner? We still have a lot to do after him." "Of course, Ted and his girlfriend are at home," Kara replied. "I heard it. Is she attractive?" Miranda asked. "Yes, and young. He slept with her the first night after I left," Kara said. "So they're a couple now?" Miranda asked. "It looks like it. My daughter liked it too," Kara confirmed. Miranda smiled and offered, "Let's stay here then." "I can offer one of my leisure toys if you need it." Miranda turned to Kara, who blushed and replied, "Not yet, Miranda. Let me know in advance. Now that we women are in charge, maybe it's the guys who need to step up. Do you have any preferences?" Miranda teased playfully. "If it comes to that, I'll take the toy boy. I don't want to destroy families," Kara said. "You're too kind, Kara," Miranda commented. After dinner, Kara left home around 9:30 p.m., having received a significant salary increase from Miranda. Ted and Nora were curious to know how Kara's workday went, especially after the awkward situation she got into. Kara shared her impressions and the tasks that she was assigned, mentioning her increase. "I won't rely on you guys anymore. It looks like I can take care of myself," Kara said with a not-too-cheerful expression on her face. Ted started to speak, but Kara interrupted him. Miranda offered Kara one of her toy boys if she ever needed one, but Kara has so far declined. Nora was shocked and wanted to know more about them, which slightly annoyed Ted. Kara admitted that she had no idea what they looked like because she didn't even know Miranda had them. Over the next 6 weeks, Kara worked with Miranda for many hours 6 days a week, either in the office or at her home, and during that time she managed to achieve a lot. 2 weeks after the incident, Ted began the divorce process that Kara and the twins were expecting. Miranda found a lawyer for Kara, and the details of the divorce were settled relatively easily. They came to an agreement and signed the papers within a few weeks. At this time, the twins lived with Ted and Nora in the main house, but Kara did not mind as relations with them improved, and she often spent time with Gimi together on her day off. Ted and Nora moved back into the main house, and Nora gave up her apartment to take on the role of stepmother with the girls. Over time, the situation became more and more comfortable. One night, after a satisfying intimate session, Ted proposed to Nora and asked her to marry him. Nora was surprised at first but agreed, expressing a desire to have children. Ted calmed her down and joked that he would change diapers again. They kissed and got married 6 months after the incident. 2 months later, Nora discovered that she was pregnant. Meanwhile, the police investigation into a high-profile incident involving a billionaire has reached a dead end. Despite the rare mentions of journalists, public interest faded over time. The authorities tried to confirm the alibis of potential suspects, among whom were 6 husbands, but they did not achieve anything. They even investigated Miranda's activities, but found no evidence linking her to the crime. As a result, the investigation reached an impasse. Since the case was raised only occasionally, Kara quickly became indispensable to Miranda and the company due to her intelligence and operational knowledge that surpassed all others. One Saturday afternoon, as they were finishing work, Miranda noticed Kara heading to her room to take a shower. Kara had never used the pool before, and Miranda was determined to change that. Seeing that Kara was drying out after a shower, Miranda threw a robe over her and invited her to follow her. Curious, Kara agreed, knowing that Miranda was her boss. Miranda led her to the outdoor pool, teasing her with a surprise. Although Kara doubted it, she decided it would be a pleasant change. When they reached the pool, they were greeted by two attractive young men sitting on sun loungers, both tanned and undressed. Kara was shocked. Miranda told Kara that she hadn't been intimate since that incident, so she set up the situation so that Kara could choose between Damon and Chad. Kara was shocked, but also intrigued by the unexpected opportunity. Kara and Damon made love in front of Miranda and Chad, who watched in awe. After that, Miranda and Chad applauded, helping Kara overcome her fear of the pool. Despite the drastic changes in her life, Kara found solace in the fact that she could choose Miranda's companions, and she treasured her work very much. On Sundays, Kara spent time with her daughters, and sometimes with Ted and Nora. When Nora gave birth to Bryce, Kara was thrilled, but also a little jealous. Ted and Nora were happy to be replenished. During a heart-to-heart conversation, Nora asked Kara about her romantic life, and Kara frankly shared all the details. This conversation sparked a new passion between Nora and Ted, bringing them closer together. Kara and Nora also had intimate conversations from time to time. "I chose Miles over you, although I don't quite understand why. Perhaps there is a hidden anger in you that you keep a secret. Despite that, I still love you because it's just a part of who you are. I don't usually dwell on it. You've managed to build a good life for yourself and your loved ones, including Miles and me." "But Ted," said Robin, "I noticed Miles handing you the phone after a bike ride, and at first I didn't understand what that meant. You both took a lot of risks very much." Ted was silent for a while, looking at her. Finally he said, "Maybe I should think about a consultation." Robin smiled and replied, "There's no need for that. You are who you are, and we care about you no matter what." They went back together to get back to our partners. Walking together to their spouses, they reflected on the saying that everything is good when it ends well. But fate had other plans. One evening, after putting the children to bed, Robin and Miles had dinner with Ted. Walking around the backyard, Robin noted the similarities between herself and Nora, jokingly remarking that they could switch partners. Ted grinned and teased her, suggesting that she might choose him. Kara continued to live having fun with the so-called toy boys. She and Miranda enjoyed life having fun with different men and using illegal substances. It came to the point that Miranda's company suffered a financial collapse. Miranda launched the company's business and completely devoted herself to entertainment. Soon, Kara lost her position and was forced to look for a new job, and it was at that moment that she discovered she became addicted to illegal substances. Kara begged Ted for financial help, and Ted handed her $2,000 without hesitation. But Kara spent all the money on illegal substances and entertainment on the same day. And the next day, Kara realized that she was stuck in a vicious life and would not be able to get out.